Southwest, and Chicago O'Hare. Up until 2 years ago, this was an unlikely combination, especially considering that one of Southwest's largest hubs, Chicago Midway, is just 15 miles away. But lo and behold, Southwest inaugurated service to O'Hare on February 14, 2021, and still over 2 years later, the airline continues to be really popular, now serving 12 destinations with one of them being international. But that's not to say that Southwest has had it easy at O'Hare. Of course not. Southwest operates out of O'Hare Terminal 5, the international terminal that, in recent history, has started serving more and more domestic flights as well. Terminal 5, for a while, suffered extensively from congestion, and this reality has been brought to my attention time and time again, both when I flew Southwest for the first time in 2021 and then again the year after. But ever since my last flight with Southwest in August of 2022, Terminal 5 has improved. Just earlier this year, the long-awaited Terminal 5 expansion opened up, adding over 10 new gates. Southwest shifted most of its operations at O'Hare to this new section of Terminal 5. A few weeks ago, we covered what the updated departure experience on Southwest is like from the new expansion. But what about the arrival experience? Is congestion still an issue, and are flights still getting delayed despite the expansion? Only one way to find out as I make my way back from Dallas to Chicago on the Southwest 737-700. Let's go. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Dallas Love Field, where I'm definitely way too early for today's flight. It's around 1 p.m. and my flight's not until 3:40, but still, I would much rather be too early than too late. Now, because I'm flying Southwest today, I'd already checked in online, and so I'm headed straight to TSA. And literally in just under 2 minutes, I am through TSA thanks to there being literally no one else in the pre-check lane. Love Field itself is a rather small airport and thus very easy to get around. There's just one terminal that juts out into two piers, so you really can't get lost here. In terms of amenities, you can't go wrong with free Wi-Fi and a plethora of various shops and food places. Now, one cool thing about Love Field that I thought was worth mentioning is that when you leave the secure area, just before taking the escalators down to baggage claim, turn left and proceed down the hallway. Here, you'll find a window overlooking the ramp, more specifically gates 3, 5, 7, and 9. Right in front of gate 3, you might notice something embedded in the ramp with a light alongside it. This right here is a plaque marking the very spot where on November 22nd, 1963, President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn into office on board Air Force One, 1 hour and 38 minutes after the demise of President Kennedy. I really wish I remembered to take pictures when visiting this area, but this is what the window looks like. It has a small illustration of the VC-137C that formerly served as Air Force One, trying to show what it may have looked like sitting out on that very spot on the ramp. Just beside the window on the wall is a picture and description of President Johnson's oath of office ceremony. Right next to it is a replica of the very same plaque that's embedded out on the apron. So the next time you're flying into Love Field and are leaving the airport, definitely check this place out. It's no surprise that the majority of Southwest flights to Chicago are to one of its largest hubs at Midway Airport. However, there are still a handful of daily flights to O'Hare, such as the one we're taking this afternoon, Flight 2715. I ended up just waiting around the gate area for the entire 2 hours I was at the airport. There just wasn't a whole much else to do. I still find it amusing how, despite living in Illinois for over 18 years now, I never once have flown Southwest from Midway Airport. It was only after they started flying to O'Hare that I finally had an excuse to try them because, at least for me, O'Hare was always more convenient. From what I can remember, the only time I ever flew into Midway was in 2004, back when my family and I were moving to the mainland United States from Hawaii. On that particular occasion, we had flown an ATA 757-200 into Midway. Needless to say, Midway isn't nearly as cool now as it was back then. Dallas Love Field, while not the biggest hub, is the birthplace, corporate headquarters, and still a major hub for Southwest. The airline has a 95% market share at the airport, with the only other passenger operators being Delta, Alaska, and JSX. Today we're flying on board one of over 400 737-700s currently flying for Southwest. These planes have 143 seats with all economy seating. Our aircraft today is November 7849 Alpha. It's just over 17 years old and was built in March of 2006. It originally flew with China Southern Airlines until August 2016, when it was picked up by Southwest. The boarding process at Southwest is quite different from most conventional airlines. I've explained the detailed boarding process in previous videos, so I won't go through the trouble of explaining it all again. If you're totally foreign to the Southwest boarding process, I'll leave a link to one of my earlier videos where you can learn all about it, in addition to a link in the description where Southwest themselves explain the entire process. Long story short, despite checking in basically exactly 24 hours in advance, I still ended up with boarding position B38. But right as I sat in the gate area, the gate agent notified us that there were upgrades available to board earlier in Group A. Sure enough, I decided to splurge a little bit and paid $40 for upgraded boarding. My new boarding position was A15, so I would be boarding with the first group, and as such the 15th person on board the plane. The 737-700s still largely feature the older cabin. The seats are pretty basic with no adjustable headrests, but still decently comfy. The seat back is also quite standard with the full-size adjustable tray table, followed by a seat back pocket with the usual contents, and 31 inches of legroom, which for some reason felt tighter than the 737-800, but maybe that's just me, it's really not that bad. Finally, above the seat are air vents, reading lights, and call buttons.
Hi y'all, we need everyone off your cell phones at this time. Place them in airplane mode. We've got 6 emergency exits, 2 forward exit doors, 2 overwing window exits, and 2 exit doors in the back. Signs overhead and lights on the floor lead to exits. If an evacuation is necessary...
I've always found it fascinating how Southwest's fleet consists of over 800 planes, all of which are from the Boeing 737 family. It's because of this reason, aircraft commonality, that Southwest has consistently been able to keep costs low, and a big factor in why, prior to the pandemic, Southwest was profitable for 47 consecutive fiscal years, from 1973 through 2019. Southwest flights feature free in-flight Wi-Fi. Once connected, you can visit the Wi-Fi Entertainment website and do all sorts of stuff for free, like message and stream entertainment. Internet access is available for $8. You can also view connecting flight information, though I'm not too sure how many people connect through O'Hare on Southwest, and you can also view the weather. There's also a detailed interactive moving map with various viewing options and also information about your destination. Snack service began just about 30 minutes into the flight, the usual choice of drink and packet of snack mix. Now, I didn't get anything to drink, nor did I even eat the snack mix at the time because I was actually fasting. This was my first time ever fasting on a plane, and so that meant no food or water until sunset, about 4 hours later. Literally, the rest of the flight was spent either sleeping or looking out the window. In almost no time at all, we began our descent into Chicago. So if you've seen my video on American Airlines from Calgary to Chicago, you'll recall that our arrival into Chicago was met with smoky skies thanks to wildfires up in Canada. Well, that same scenario plays out today as well, only a whole lot worse. We descended over much of western Illinois before turning base over Rochelle and coming in all the way over the western suburbs to land on runway 10 center. Considering I paid just $188 for my round-trip tickets on Southwest, I really couldn't ask for much more since this price was at least 2 to 3 times cheaper than the competition. The experience overall was great, but now that we've landed in O'Hare, it's time to finally see if the Southwest arrival experience has improved at all. Just as a point of comparison, last year my flight had to wait around an hour and 20 minutes after landing due to a lack of open gates. Let's see how long it takes this time. We had landed about 25 minutes early, and once we taxied up to Terminal 5, I could see that our assigned gate, M29, was still occupied by a flight to Tampa that was unfortunately running 3 hours late. The captain later came on to explain the situation, and here's what he had to say.
By about 15 minutes, but they did have an aircraft that pushed off, had some sort of issue, had to go back to our gate, and they were going to tell us that maybe about a 20-minute delay, but that was about 10 minutes ago, so we're still possibly going to get there to the gate on time. So just keep hanging tight, stay seated with your seatbelts fastened. We are on an active taxiway, as you know, and hopefully we'll get in the gate shortly. Thanks.
So all in all, we were waiting for just about 30 minutes after landing for an open gate, a massive improvement compared to my prior experiences flying Southwest here. Now, this holdup was primarily thanks to the flight occupying our gate being heavily delayed. Theoretically, had the delay not been present, our gate would have been open and we would have been off the plane just minutes after landing. Based on this, I would definitely say that the new Terminal 5 expansion has made things much easier for Southwest and its rather sizable operation. I'll definitely consider flying them again from O'Hare, and you should too if the price is right. I will say though, just be ready to walk quite a bit, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, to reach the baggage claim and arrivals area of Terminal 5 from the new expansion. But that will do it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new for more cool videos coming out very soon. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Take care, and see you next time.